The topic is strategy, miracle working. At one point, the taxman went for Jesus. They met Peter and asked if he went for Jesus and he do pay taxes. Peter had no idea what to do. He went to his master and shared his dilemma. What did Jesus do? He instructed Peter, a fisherman by profession, to go fishing, and the first fish he catches, he should check its mouth and would find enough money to pay tax for both of them. Jesus was a leader, a miracle worker. That is exactly what majority of followers expect of a leader, that a leader will never run out of strategies and ideas, that he or she will work miracles in the face of difficulties. The more miracles a leader works, the more faithful following he or she earns. In other words, the more the problem solves, and even the bigger they are, the more he or she wins the hearts of his or her followers. Can you work miracles? Majority of the people who believe in a reality believe in the miracle working power of the leader. In Kenya, where lots of political experiments seem to take root, we have had quite some miracle working leaders, so to speak. Raila, for example, can be classified as one such leader. He has had a near fanatical support in the country, and majority of his people always believe that he will have a medicine for whatever disease ails them. For that reason, they follow him unreservedly and give all of their time and resources to support his cause, a cause they believe in. He has been able to spearhead a number of movements in the country that always appear to take the political space, including the constitutional changes and the electoral reforms, among others. To a large extent, these are changes that have gone a long way in the creation of true democracy in Kenya and emulated in other parts of the world. How does he do it? The answer is strategy.
Who surrounds you? You become a product of who surrounds you. This is to say, you become a product of your team. This is one way to achieve much when it comes to miracle working. Surround yourself with the right people, forming a credible team of think tanks, a reservoir of strategists drawn from your constituency. They will aid you a lot and get you out of trouble. That is how great leaders scale the heights. In fact, that is how come Raila Odinga, the former Kenyan Prime Minister, has been able to withstand storms all through. That is how he won the presidential election petition at the highest court in the land to nullify an election. Surrounding yourself with thinkers, wise and intelligent people who are well trained in their respective fields will be a big plus to your miracle working power. Every leader who ever succeeded considerably did so because of his team. I remember one of my leaders telling me that James Mwangi, the CEO of Equity Bank Group Kenya, a bank which is not old as many other banks, yet it has outperformed all the banks in the industry, surrounded himself with numerous thinkers, people whose job description is just to think and come up with fresh ideas, and they are paid handsomely for that. Keynote there, a mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. This is a statement by Colin Powell. When I was elected as a chairman of our students' choir in the university, I realized how much it would involve being a science student, a business person, and having several other responsibilities. With that in mind, I chose to surround myself with brilliant people who possess the right experiences required for the success of the mission at hand. I initiated what we call the board of directors. All the previous chairpersons and a few others in the previous committees were included. There were lots of battle fights at the time. The battle for space and voice in the church. Being students, we were often seen as essential shareholders and would not easily be allowed to use even the music instruments in the church. The other problem was that the parish pastoral council did not see it fit to buy for us our own. Further, the students' community at the chaplaincy felt it was the choir that had all the money, and so the choir should be funding all student activities within the chaplaincy. These plus a few more were the challenges we had to deal with in the leadership of this group. I tapped into the wisdom of this group, and St. Paul's Students' Choir still remains one of the most popular choral groups of its kind in the region because of this team. Every successive official kept this tradition until today. The choral group still stands and keeps standing taller. The group does not need me at all. In fact, it has been years since I last attended their meetings, but they're doing great. It is still one of the largest and most vibrant assemblies in the chaplaincy. Another example is one you're already familiar with, the malicious earmarking of our building for demolition. While most people panicked, expecting the worst, calling me from all sides of the country wondering what we were going to do, I simply started by playing down the gravity of the matter, gave hope that all will be sorted out, and went ahead to set up teams, one of which was to be the central team tasked with coordination and coming up with new strategies. We won. Few believed we could. This was a miracle.
Who wants to start giving comments?
I would like to say that I think it's very important what you say, that look who surrounds you. Because there's a saying that you're the average of the 5 friends that you hang out with the most. And I'm very careful about who I surround myself with. I surround myself with positive energy, with people who have direction in life, who are going to speak into my life with positivity and correct me where I'm wrong without fear or favor. So then if I need, I think one of the most important things is social capital. So I need to also have access to people of different specialities and not try to be a master of all trades. If it's a finance person, I know I can go to Melvin. If it's a leadership thing, I know I can go to OPP. You know, if it's and if I need to contact a lawyer, you know. So I keep all these people in my life and need to keep regular contact with them so that it's not a matter of calling them only when you're in need. And that will build resentment in them. So all these people who you find valuable in your life, try and keep constant communication with them so that you can tap into them at a time of need, which can come unexpectedly. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yes, social capital. Somebody else would like to contribute on the same. You can also relate with your experience, and I think that adds a lot of value when you relate with your experience, how you've solved previous problems, how a team came in, and something like that. Miracle working. It's good to note that that thing is not just a saying. I did not just come up with it, but I know that as a leader, your people somewhat are very unreasonable with their expectations. They expect miracles. They will never think that a leader can run out of ideas, and you must not be seen to be running out of ideas. At every particular point in time, wherever there is any challenge, whatever, you must be somebody who is ceaselessly able to come up with new ideas. you never give up. I loved the advert for, is it Energizer? Never say die. Yeah. So this miracle working is the beginning of everything. If you are holding a leadership position and you seem to be running out of ideas, your people are somewhat going to lose their loyalty in you. And so we must be we must talk about those miracle moments, and we are talking about this team element. Kevin, Olale wants to say something. The hand is up.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning,
This
sir.
is my first time to join you.
Yes.
Yes, I'm glad to be in the group. Yeah, I wanted to do more listening, but I've been provoked, so I've said, let me also share my thoughts.
Yes.
A good leader is one who listens more and talks less. And that's where that strategy comes in. You must have integrity. You cannot stand in front of people if you have no integrity.
Yeah.
So you must be, it must start with you. Don't wait for people to call you a leader. You must groom yourself by promoting integrity from within. Then you must have a team of confidence who you can bounce ideas to. Because just like I think the previous speaker said, you must not run out of ideas, but that does not mean those ideas are your own. No.
Good.
You consult and consult widely.
Yes.
And then like quote from former British Prime Minister Theresa May
Hey.
once said at the height of the Brexit debate, as a good leader is one who must make a decision. Whether right or wrong, you must make that decision. In other words, sorry for those who don't understand the Luo language, my grandma used to tell us, "Muony olao," meaning when you hear something, you need time to digest it. Don't be a speaker. Don't even talk to yourself a leader. A speaker who, once somebody says anything, the first thing you want to do is to rebut, and you've not even thought about it. And that one just goes to the creation story whereby God blessed us with one big head, 2 ears to listen more, 1 mouth to speak less, and 2 eyes to see more. So as a good leader, we must listen more, speak less, and take time to muonyolao, to digest before we speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shalale. Yeah, the ideas are not necessarily yours, but they come from your team. You draw from the pot of your think tanks. Thank you very much. And you've just come at the right time. We discussed this in the previous discussions. How do you make decisions? You take time. You don't just react and something like that. And I know Elsie will speak briefly about that. Yes, Kevin, you are to say something.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Quite an insightful discussion going on here, and glad to have been to be part of this. I wanted to add just some 3 points that I've learned over the time. Your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. And I like what Daktari said, that she keeps around friends of different professions. I learned the hard way to borrow the same idea, because you never know at what point you need who. You can get yourself in a situation where you need a lawyer. You can have a sick person, you need a confidant, a doctor. You can get yourself, maybe you want to travel, so you need a travel consultant. And most of these people, they need to be close to you, and you always need to create a rapport and have some unique friendship around them. So your network is your network. A good leader must have content. So you cannot go before the people you lead and you are clueless. You don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know what the discussion is. So at any given time, if you have a team you are leading, one of the key things you need to have is content. you can get that content from what the previous speakers just talked about. You can get that content from your think tanks or the guys who you consult if you don't have the content yourself. So at any given time, any discussion going on, as a leader, you have to have content. Then last but not least, a good leader must have a stand. A good leader must make a unique stand.
Thank you. Maurice.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the topic has been timely. The issue of strategy. I liked what Dr. Eda mentioned earlier, that you are an average of the 5 or so people you associate with. So this is really giving us a challenge, that whom do we associate with within our network? Like for me personally, I have a number of people I consult, or rather I can even call them mentors, who I always fall back to get guidance. When you're trying to balance, in life, there are so many things that are trying to balance at any one time. So there's somebody I go back to. We don't talk like every day, but maybe once in a while, maybe after a couple of weeks or months, I can just reach out to him and tell him, this is the situation I'm going through. What is your opinion? He gives me advice. I consult somebody else also, and from about 2 or 3 people, I get a feel of the direction they're giving. And most of the time, I find that most of them are giving more or less the same advice on some of the issues I'm looking at. So I do totally agree that as a leader, you need to have some people around you, confident, who give you proper advice. The problem is, okay, the examples you gave, you talked of the former prime minister, and I was just thinking deeply whether, with due respect, whether he gets all the best advice, because sometimes you can also be surrounded by sycophants and people just who will want to tell you what you want to hear. So they can guide you into a ditch or something like that. So sometimes you also need people who can tell you things you don't want to hear, and they tell you, and it can help you to change course. So your network must not always be people who tell you yes, yes. Should also be people who tell you those uncomfortable truths. People can tell you have the back of your head. You've used an analogy in the book, that when you look into the mirror, I think it was Colin Powell who was saying something, that you look at the mirror, you look at yourself, and I can't remember what he said on the side there. But I think beyond looking at the mirror, you also need somebody who can help you see your back. Yeah, so the topic today is very timely, in the sense that you need to surround yourself with people who give you advice, but also people who can correct you. And so the challenge as a leader is also to have that humility, like what we have learned before in the previous chapters, that you also become that kind of person who can listen from other people to get advice. And then at the end of the day, you take the decision, and you take the bold decision, which now guides where you go. So that is what I can contribute to this discussion this morning. Thank you very much, Paul Peters.
Yes, thank you very much, Maurice. And I always love it when you interrogate the text. Well, I've put there that the quote by Colin says, "A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses." And that's basically what we are talking about. We are talking about leadership and following. We started by definitions and we talked about influence. If people are able to be loyal to you and follow you unreservedly, that's what we are talking about leadership. And then it makes others to follow you more. Why? Because you just seem to not to run out of medicine for their problems. They just have ideas. They just believe that you will solve their problems. And this is what we are talking about. And that's why we are giving the example of the former prime minister. I'd like to, yes, somebody wants to say something?
No, I really like that thing that you've just said about a mirror reflecting a man's face. Because there's also another saying that says that, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. Yeah, because there's this lady who was very disturbed by her unfaithful husband. Of course, that was his choice. But when you look at his friends, he was hanging out with divorcees. And what kind of advice do you expect from men who are divorcees, who are telling you, awachana naye? You see? So it's very important who you hang out with, because even if they try to go for counseling, his peer group has already told him, wachana naye. You see? So it's very important who you hang out. Even as ladies, if we're going to be married, and people choose their best maid and their best man sometimes for the wrong reasons. You choose somebody who will look nice in the dress, but it should be somebody who can be your mentor. Yeah? It should be somebody who is living a life of integrity in her own personal life, in her own marriage, so that when you get problems, then you go to the right person.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eda. I love when people share experiences. Good to see you, John Rojwai. Well, I didn't know that was you.
Yes,
any comments on the same?
It's a pleasure to join you. It's my first time, just as Bwana Olale, and I'm doing a lot of listening and learning, and I like what has been shared so far. I'm really listening, and especially that strategy on leadership, because as leaders, because I believe every one of us is a leader wherever we are, right from the house or where we work or in our different small villages or wherever. There's always someone who looks up to you somewhere, and that means, as you say, that we have to lead by example. I think that is what is very key. And in terms of strategy, our society is what I feel sometimes is changing. And as I think, was it Aduda who mentioned that sometimes getting honest guidance for leadership, how to filter whether somebody is bringing in personal interest, because just like our political leadership, sometimes there is so much filled with personal interests without looking at what actually leadership would entail, because leadership is not management where people will actually want to do what you're doing. So I'm keen on learning strategic leadership, and also looking at improving on my leadership skills, even as we continue to discuss, and how to improve myself as a leader, be it in my household or in my work environment or just in my social life too. So I'm doing a lot of listening today, but I really appreciate your invite, and I'm keen on, I'm relating very well to that SIF apartment story. I've been there right from the start. I know so much, but I really appreciate, and I feel it. Thank you.
Actually, I was forgetting that that you were there from the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you.
You see, we said before that every one of us is a leader. There is no doubt about that. And the first and most important team that we lead is ourselves, which is the most difficult part, leading ourselves towards where we want to be. Most times we are the people who are indisciplined in leading ourselves, but we want others to follow us. And then the question is, why would others follow you if you can't follow yourself? You see, so all of us are in that category. I'd like to relate another example. At one point, when I moved from main campus halls of residence, that is University of Nairobi, to Chiromo. And Chiromo was mostly for third years and fourth year students. But I went there as a second year. For some reason, I was able to get a hostel there because I became an official and I loved Chiromo anyway. So I requested for a room. What happened is, being a member of the Catholic community, when I reached there, I had not known the Catholic students in Chiromo. So I still related well with main campus and did all activities there. But they came to me one evening on a Thursday and told me, we always meet on Thursdays, why can't we go today? You join us. When I went there, there were elections. They had pre-planned it, and they made me their chairman. And now I don't know what to do. I don't know these people. I know very few people. And there were lots of things that were happening. People had an attitude about the leadership of Chiromo and the students, the Chiromo students, because they seemed to be bookworms. They were never participating in the chaplaincy activities and all sorts of things. They were never active people. We hardly knew them from main campus. What did I do? I started by building a strong team. And that team still forms part of my best friends today. Some of you know Larry Laser, maybe. Yeah, Larry became part of my team. There was another gentleman. There were 4 key people whom I could call anytime and we could sit to strategize and come up with ideas. And by the time we were leaving, nobody wanted to have an event anywhere within the university chaplaincy without Chiromo participating. And I was chairman there for 2 straight years. Never does it happen like that, because you join there when you are 3rd year and you can only do it 1 year and then you exit. And during that time, that is the time I was to be chairman for our choir, but I refused. But then the following year, they could not allow me. Again, I was becoming the first chairman from outside campus, outside main campus. And there were politics around that. But the following year, they could not allow me. So I became chairman the other side as well, meaning I had different teams to run. But the strategy that always worked and excelled was building a strong team around me and having these people who they were unreservedly ready to support, ready to help things move on. And even after we had left, so many years later, we still have footprints. People who followed the same strength, you know, like we said before, and I think we will talk about it towards the end of the book. Your leadership is not measured by the success of your time, but the success after your time. If you are successful, like they say about some other leaders we hear in politics, when he was there, things were working. When he got out, the company was grounded. No, your success, if you were really successful, should be seen well after you had left that position. And this is what we could see. For many years, 7, 8 years, we could still be kept on track. What is happening? The students who came after us even formed an association there and even started some investment groups, and they still have networks all over the world. So I've learned it through experience that the team that we form will always play a critical role to our success and even to carrying our legacy. We don't see that a lot in our politics, and that's a different story altogether because there are different interests, but that is what happens. We have